Mécanisme pour criminal tribunals is now in session. L'audience du mécanisme international appelé à exercer les fonctions résiduelles de tribunaux pénaux est ouverte. Please be seated.
So, Registrar, would you please call the case?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. This is the Arusha branch of the International Residual Mechanism for the Criminal Tribunals sitting in The Hague. This is the third day of February 2022 in the matter of the prosecutor versus Félicien Kabuga, case number MICT-13-38 PT. Judge Ian Bonamy presiding. Thank you, Your Honor.
Well, good afternoon to you all. First of all, may I apologize for the late start of this sitting of the court. An unanticipated technical problem gave rise to that and to a further check having to take place. I'm conducting today's status conference in my capacity as the presiding and pre-trial judge of the trial chamber. So may I now, first of all, have the appearances of the parties for the prosecution?
Good afternoon, Your Honour. Today for the prosecution, myself, Rupert Elderkin, our case manager, Thomas Logel, Rashid, and Maria Yakusheva.
Thank you, Mr. Elderkin. And now, Mr. Maître Altit.
Good morning, President. The team is made of Mrs. Naugri, Mr. Jacobs, and as to myself, Emmanuel Altit, the main counsel.
And then the final preliminary, can the registry please confirm to me that Mr. Kabuga is receiving the translation of these proceedings in Kinyarwanda?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. I want to begin by covering some of the procedural developments that have taken place since our last hearing on the 6th of October. On the 8th of December, and again yesterday, I held meetings with the parties' representatives and with the registry under Rule 70G of the Rules of Evidence and Procedure. Both meetings proved to be very constructive and have assisted the trial chamber to ensure fair and expeditious progress in the case. In terms of trial preparations, decisions and orders related to prosecution requests for protective measures were issued on the 9th and 15th of November. On the 14th of December, I circulated draft guidelines formulated by the full trial chamber on the procedure for the conduct of trial and invited the parties and the registry to provide any observations and proposals they wish to make on these by the 24th of January. Observations and proposals were duly made, and the trial chamber is reviewing the comments received with a view to finalizing the guidelines shortly. I also dismissed on 20th December defense objections related to the prosecution pre-trial brief. So it's important to note that in line with their pre-trial obligations set forth in the pre-trial work plan, the parties completed their required filings as projected in November. Save for the pre-trial conference, which will likely be held just before the commencement of the trial, the pre-trial phase of this case has largely concluded. The trial chamber's main attention now is on finalising matters related to Mr. Kabuga's fitness for trial and fitness to travel. That, of course, is a necessary step before the trial can be commenced. The Chamber has also started the task of examining the prosecution's requests to admit evidence in written form. On the 27th of October, the trial chamber took judicial notice of 3 facts of common knowledge. The prosecution has also filed 1 motion for the admission of evidence under Rule 112 and 3 motions to admit evidence under Rule 110. These motions are presently under consideration by the trial chamber, and it is hoped they will be resolved prior to the commencement of the trial. In terms of Mr. Kabuga's fitness for trial and travel, the trial chamber receives confidential reports every 2 weeks from the detention unit's medical officer. In addition, it has received 2 confidential reports from an independent medical expert on the 18th of June and the 26th of November. Based on the recommendation received in that expert's last report, the trial chamber in December instructed the registrar to appoint another independent expert with distinct medical expertise. This independent medical expert filed her confidential report on Monday of this week, the 31st of January. The trial chamber is now considering the appropriate procedure that will be applied to ensure fair and expeditious consideration of these expert evaluations, and that any judicial determinations as to Mr. Kabuga's fitness are sound and adequately justified. The trial chamber expects to conduct this procedure and issue its decision swiftly. I now turn to the parties to see if they have any matters to raise. If any of these matters relate to medical issues, including the expert evaluations, we will go into private session at that stage. So first of all, Mr. Elderkin for the prosecution.
Thank you, Your Honour. Nothing that requires private session, and one matter concerning the indication we gave in the inter partes meeting that the prosecution is not going to be pursuing certain incidents in 2 paragraphs of the operative indictment, and these are indictment paragraphs 45 sub A through E and 61 sub A. Other than that, there's nothing else that the prosecution would wish to raise at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Elderkin. Maître Altit, any issues you wish to raise?
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, President. Mr. President, I have a question I would like to put to you, and in line with your comment, could we go into private session?
We're in open session, Your Honor.
Thank you. The matters raised in private session have now been addressed and dealt with. The submissions for the prosecution and for the defence are complete. I want now to turn my attention directly to the accused, Mr. Kabuga. Mr. Kabuga. Mr. Kabuga, is there anything that you wish to say to me this afternoon?
What I wish to say is an issue regarding the counsel, the defense counsel. Can you hear me? Is asking the accused. The accused is asking, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Ndakumva. Yeah. Abavoka banje
When it comes to my defense counsels, they do not give me any reports regarding their activities. They do not communicate with me. And this is why I would like to have a different lawyer. I would like to have Mr. Peter. He is the counsel whom I would like to have for my defense. And I'm saying it because Mr. Altit is never giving me any feedback regarding his activities. Here is the problem. Did you understand me, Your Honor?
I understand you very clearly. Is there anything else you wish to say?
Ikindi wumva ushaka kubaza?
In reality, I only had one problem, and this problem is now communicated to you, but this is a problem that I've had for a long time now.
Well, thank you very much. Maître Altit, do you wish to comment on this?
Oui, Monsieur le Président, merci. Quelques mots rapides.
Yes, Your Honor, very quickly. As you know, we are fulfilling our mission as best we can in the most professional possible way. We went to see Mr. Kabuga in the UNGU not long ago. We spoke to him 2 days ago. It is not a place And I'm here to talk about the perception of what Mr. Kabuga may think of the procedure of the proceedings. But of course, if you wish to go into a closed session, I will inform you on this, on his perception. But when it comes to us, we have worked with dedication and in the utmost professional way in order to defend the interest of Mr. Kabuga.
Maître Altit, if there is further material you think it would be best for the chamber to consider, then I'm content to go into private session to hear that.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Peut-être quelques mots en...
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Yes, a few words in closed session would be useful, I believe, in order to better explain the situation.
We shall go into private session.
We're in open session, Your Honor.
The matters that required to be dealt with in open session have been dealt with, and it's clear from the positions of the parties that there is no further business to be dealt with this afternoon, so that concludes the status conference. The chamber is now adjourned.
All rise.